I get it. Scrolling through endless listings, you see a sleek black camera promising crystal clear 4K, 20+ times optical zoom, night vision that can see a car 100 meters away, and then you wonder if it's just another pretty picture that will flop once you mount it on the wall. I've been there, and the disappointment of a high-end unit that ends up delivering grainy footage or a nightmare setup is real. That's why I wanted to take a deeper look at the Ubiquiti UVC-AI-PTZ 8 megapixel outdoor 4K network camera before anyone spends hard-earned cash on a system that might not fit their needs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of situation this camera was built for. Ubiquiti markets it as a remote surveillance solution, and the hardware backs that up. The 8-megapixel sensor paired with a 138.5mm maximum focal length gives you the kind of detail you'd expect from a professional security rig. You can read a license plate from the far side of a parking lot. And the 21.7 optical zoom means you can pull back a wide-angle view for context and then zoom in without losing sharpness. If you run a small business, manage a rental property, or simply want to keep an eye on a large backyard, that level of detail can be the difference between catching a trespasser and having an empty video file. Now, the everyday user might be thinking, great, but can I actually set this up without a degree in networking? The camera runs on Ubiquiti's Unify Protect platform, which is essentially a web-based dashboard that lets you add devices, configure streams, and set motion alerts from any browser or the mobile app. The first time you power it up, typically over Power over Ethernet, the camera announces itself on the network and shows up in the Protect UI within a few minutes. There's no need to juggle separate cloud accounts or proprietary apps, and the interface groups the PTZ controls, live view, and recording settings under a single tab. That said, the menu isn't exactly plug-and-play for the totally tech-averse. You'll need to understand VLANs or at least be comfortable assigning a static IP if your network isn't set to auto-assign. In practice, most reviewers have noted that once you get past the initial IP configuration, the day-to-day operation feels smooth. You can pan, tilt, and zoom with a click, set presets for common angles, and schedule recordings without digging through layers of menus. Autofocus on a PTZ camera can be a make-or-break feature, especially when you're relying on zoom to capture details at a distance. The UVC-AI-PTZ uses an AI-driven autofocus algorithm that tracks subjects as they move across the frame, keeping the subject sharp even when you're zoomed in 15. In my own test on a suburban street, the camera followed a car as it drove past, maintaining crisp lettering on the bumper and clear headlights. That level of reliability is a boon if you need to monitor moving objects, think delivery trucks, kids playing outside, or wildlife that roams a large property. Low-light performance is another area where this camera tries to stand out. The f/1.5 aperture lets in a lot more light than many competing models, and the built-in infrared LEDs claim visibility out to about 328 feet, roughly 100 meters. In practice, the night vision image is a deep black and white with enough contrast to distinguish a person's silhouette and even detect the outline of a backpack. However, because the sensor is optimized for daylight color capture, you'll notice a bit of noise when the IR LEDs are the sole light source. If you need pure color night footage, you'd have to add external illumination, something to keep in mind if you're planning a fully dark surveillance zone. Stabilization isn't a primary selling point for a fixed PTZ unit, but the camera does include a modest digital stabilization that smooths out minor vibrations caused by wind or a loosely mounted pole. It's not going to turn a shaky pole into a rock-solid platform, but it does reduce jitter enough that a 4K stream stays usable during a light breeze. For most property owners, that's sufficient. If you need rock-solid footage in a high-wind environment, you might want to invest in a sturdier mounting bracket or consider a dedicated PTZ gimbal system. One of the less obvious strengths of the UVC-AI-PTZ is its integration with Ubiquiti's broader ecosystem. If you already have a Unify network, switches, routers, or other Protect cameras, adding this model is seamless. The camera inherits the same security policies, VLAN tagging, and centralized logging you already have in place. For a business that values consistent network management, That unified approach can save a lot of admin time. On the flip side, if you're a standalone homeowner with a simple Wi-Fi router, you'll need to add a PO injector or switch, which adds a small extra cost and a bit of wiring work. Let's be clear about who should actually consider buying this camera. If you're a small to medium business that needs high-resolution detail across a large outdoor area, or a property manager.